And Operation Sindoor, what we did, we played chess. Now, what does it mean? It means we did not know what is the next move the enemy is going to take and what are we going to do. Operation Sindoor taught us that this is the gray zone. So we were making the chess moves. He was also making the chess moves. Somewhere we were giving him checkmate and somewhere we were kind of going in for the kill at the risk of even losing our own. But that's the way life is all about. This time, I think that is Pahalgam 25. It was wide and deep where we hit the heartland. This was the first time we hit the heartland. And of course, our target was the nursery and the masters. This has never been done, and even Pakistan was not expecting that the heartland will be hit. And that's what came as a shocker to them. And Operation Sindoor, what we did, we played chess. Now, what does it mean? It means we did not know what is the next move the enemy is going to take and what are we going to do. This is something we called about the gray zone. Gray zone is that we are not going for the conventional operations, but we are doing something which is just short of the conventional operations. Conventional operations means go with everything, Clausewitzian approach. Take whatever you have. And if you are able to come back, it's okay, otherwise stay there. But that is the thing which we talk about the conventional approach. Here the gray zone is any activity which is taking place in all domains. That is something which we are talking about. And Operation Sindoor taught us that this is the gray zone. So we were making the chess moves. He was also making the chess moves. Somewhere we were giving him checkmate and somewhere we were kind of going in for the kill at the risk of even losing our own. But that's the way life is all about. So how the future war we look at, I'll talk about it in 4 trends. Then first one which comes is diffused. Diffused means the battlefronts are actually not defined. There's no clear battlefronts. And do we look at as of today that has the Indo-Pak war finished? Has the Iraq-Iran war finished? Has the US-Iraq war finished? Has the Afghanistan-US or Russia or Pakistan conflict got over? The answer is not known to you and me. So what I am saying, these are something which are perseverant wars, and we have to live with this kind of a situation. Today, globally, 56 conflicts are going on with 92 countries. And this strategic continuum of persistence will continue to grow. And the second one is democratized. When we say that is the conventional, hybrid, non-traditional, all these wars are taking place together. And earlier we used to, let's say, depend on the big platforms and Second World War. This is what something is going to play a role. But now, let's say if there's a tank squadron which is there, and suddenly you take a kind of a swarm drones which can fire the missiles. It's a major vulnerability for tanks today. Of course, that's why in the tank regiments also we are raising the drone kind of elements and counter drone elements for this reason. But what I am saying, the battlefield equalizers is something which has come through. A platform in its size does not make a difference. What it makes a difference, how can you counter it? So a small intelligent move, a smaller technical kind of a move which is there. I was asked that, will you have the robo-soldiers later? I said, robo-soldiers we can have. But if we are 150% sure that we will control them. Because if somebody else controls, they will turn around. And if they turn around, you're gone. So that is what the technology counts about. Coming on to the third one is the diverse. Now, when we talk about diverse, the Ukraine-Russia war, which has taught us that they are using the robo-dog also, but they are using the live mules also, animal transport. Why? Because when the animal which is moving on a pre-designated route, it is not a very, very lucrative target. But if you go with the ATV and carry the ammunition, itself becomes lucrative target. So that is the diversity. You're looking at a robo-dog as well as the animal transport live, which is carrying the ammunition in those trenches. So as far as the Indian Army is concerned, it is different from what we talk about the US wars, what we talk about the Iraq-Iran war, Hamas war. Why? Because as far as we are concerned, we share 2 borders. And both borders, you can call it live, semi-live, in whichever terminology you can look at. But these 2 potential adversaries have the capability to orchestrate kind of a war which we have to face together or one by one. That we cannot say for sure as of today. But capability-wise, we have to stand up to both the fronts. Now, if that be the case, then we have to look at 5 generations of warfare. It means the technology will come up, but the space is only that much. So technology also have to fit in the topmost layer and then slowly and slowly seep down to the lowest layer. That is what is something important. So technology has to be imbibed, it has to be understood, and then it has to be percolated down to a common soldier. And that is why I have said that eagle on the arm means our 12 lakh population of Indian Army, everybody should have one drone each, is eagle on the arm. That is the beginning which we are looking at. And it doesn't mean that we'll be looking at bigger drones and missiles and everything, but that is the beginning. And that is the technological consciousness which I'm expecting from all. So from muddy trenches to Internet of military things, this is what is the kind of a arena what we are looking at. As far as the demography is concerned, that is the fourth D I was talking about, is of course, which are the principal players in this complete thing? The terrorist groups, Hamas, LET, now TRF, now some more names which are coming up. They will be permanent part, at least the India is concerned. Militias, we have Wagner Group, and now recently Myanmar has issued a thing that you can have the private army operating there with 25% from the foreign. We have so many others also, you're aware, Legion of kind of France or other places where you will find that the foreign troops are coming. Similarly, from Nepal, I am told UK is also employing some people for their RT regiments and others. So you will find these kind of outsourcing, or if I can say that the soldiers, then the merchants. Merchants today which are part of the battlefield, whether Starlink, Apple, and so on and so forth. Of course, we have the citizen soldiers, and I must tell you, when Kargil happened, the citizen soldiers were prominent. We had the shepherd who told us that where the intruders are, and the last Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Tashi, he himself galvanized the locals and himself carried the ammunition for the troops during the Kargil war. So what I am saying, citizen soldiers are omnipresent, and any kind of information which they have, if they give us, for example, drones, as you see where the drones are flying, so that if it is put in the app, it helps us knowing that whether it's our drone, whose drone, and this kind of a thing we have tried in the Amarnath Yatra recently in J&K. And if it becomes successful, we'll develop it more, and with the kind of intelligence which is sitting here, definitely we'll be able to make it more, if I can say that, fail-safe proof. Of course, the Guardian Force is concerned, this is the invisible, if I can say that, the non-kinetic handlers. And this is where you all come into play in a big way. Because today war has four quadrants. I will not have time to explain the four quadrants, but the non-kinetic quadrant is something which you can start today. And the next war, which we are looking at, it may happen soon, and we have to prepare accordingly, as already been brought out by Director, that in this we have to fight this battle together. This non-kinetic has to be fought together. So what are the deductions? That as far as whole of nation approach will be there for the next war, it is not the military alone which will be fighting. Let me assure you very clearly in this issue. As far as the grey zone is concerned, it's ever present, and this will remain. As for the multi-domain, cyber, cognitive, and space, these are the new terms which are coming in, and these are the new terms we need to learn more from you. We can tell you what do we want and what do we need to counter, but how, when, why is something you need to give us the answer. Atmanirbharta. Atmanirbharta, it's a long-term thing. Presently, whatever technology is being imported from outside and being called as Atmanirbharta, definitely it has a hidden cost. We are ready to pay more cost if it's purely made in India, because then we know that we can change it, we can modify it, we can upgrade it. That is the biggest advantage. That is what we are looking at, in-house technology. And as far as collaborative and synergistic is concerned, that means intra and inter. Because today, for example, we do not know what is happening on the Pak Western Front. But this information, when we have the exchange of intelligence with our neighbors on the other side, we'll definitely get to know which are the troops which are moving in what places. So what I am saying that interconnections are also equally important, which we call collaborative. And these collaborative will also, after some time, will go to the satellites and so many other agencies which are there, which are meant for a commercial purposes, but can also be used for the defense purposes. And if a synergistic approach is concerned, within us, that is the tri-services, NTRO, and so many other agencies which are there. So finally, if I look at that, India is facing a 2.5 front, and if it is facing the land borders, then keeping in with the psyche of the people in India today, currency of victory will remain as land. And that is, with that premise, I will say that what all actions have been taken and what are we looking at. 2016-19, again we got 2 wake-up calls. We went in for a major transformation, whatever we could. And we declared as a decade of transformation, which actually year of transformation given by my predecessor, General Pandey. And then we made it decade of transformation because changes don't come so fast. You need time. Years of technology absorption, we created 2 years because technology, like I told you, has to be absorbed at the top, but it has to seep through a soldier, and it is not so easy. It's a social change, and social change cannot come with a jerk. And of course, year of reforms, which were declared by our Honorable Raksha Mantri, and that is what was a major catalyst and a major kind of anchor for change. And all this combined together, we put a vision for Viksit Bharat 2047 for the Indian Army. So, Peter Drucker said the best way to predict future is to create it. And if that is the case, actually, it helped in Operation Sindoor because when I took over, the first thing which I did was the multi-domain operations war discussions. Multi-domain operations is basically how the technology can be imbibed in the warfare. Normally, we have been doing the bean counting, okay, how many tanks, how many infantry battalions, but this is the time we went in. And it was not purely military. We had the academia joining us from all these stakeholders, whether it's CERT or anyone for that matter. We had those people and they told us that what you can do, what you cannot do, and what you're doing is Stone Age or it is actually in advanced stage. So that is how it showed us the mirror. And since it showed us the mirror, it helped us in a big way. So moving ahead, I will just talk about the Operation Sindoor as such. And since Operation Sindoor, you may be actually saturated by seeing the TV and the parliamentary debates. So I will not spend much time on that. I will say how the technology came into play. But certain things important. 22nd April, you're aware what happened in Pahalgam, and it actually shocked the nation. 23rd is the time when next day itself, we all sat down. And this is the first time which RM has also said, I think enough is enough. And all the three chiefs were very clear, something has to be done. And the free hand was given, of course, that you decide what is to be done. And that is the kind of a confidence with the political directions and political clarity for the first time we saw. And that's what made a difference because we want to do a lot, but that kind of hand-holding and kind of free, no terms of restrictions, if I can say that. And that is what kind of raises up your morale. And that is how it helped our army commanders or commander-in-chiefs on ground to kind of act as per their wisdom. Of course, then 25th, we visited the Northern Command, as you're aware, that is the place where we thought, planned, conceptualized, and executed the 7 targets out of the 9 which were destroyed and where a lot of terrorists were killed. 29th April, of course, was the time when we met the Prime Minister for the first time, and thereafter, next day, of course, why I'm telling you this? Because it's important that how a small name, Operation Sindoor, connects the whole nation. And I was telling director also that when he briefed me on this, he said, okay, we'll have this name Operation Sindoor. And I thought it is Operation Sindhu. Sindhu is basically Indus River. So I said, excellent, sir. Indus Water Treaty has just been frozen by you. He said, no, it is Operation Sindoor. And just see, this one name has connected the whole nation together. And today people are saying Sindoor to Sindhu. Everything we have taken care of. But that is something which galvanized the whole nation as such. And the soldiers per se, because when I went on ground and I told them that, look, any sister, mother, daughter, whenever she applies the vermilion or the sindoor, she will always remember the soldier. And I think that was the connect. And I think that was the connect which they brought the whole nation together for one cause. And that is the reason I think the whole nation was saying, why have you stopped? I think that's the question which was being asked. But of course, that has been amply answered by. So the strategic clarity was in dime. That is diplomatic, information, military and economic. And that's why you see that the IWT was frozen. Then High Commission strength was reduced. The defense personnel were moved out. Persona non grata, they were declared. And visas were revoked. Because when you go for such kind of offensives, what happens? You need to always look at what the other side is thinking and how this chess is going to get played. So what we did, we created a red team. So this time what we did differently, as far as Udi, you are aware that it was 2016, it was a shallow thrust and it was launch pad we were looking at. It is basically to convey a message. As for Balakot in 2019, we were looking at penetrating through J&K, going across to training camps which are in Pakistan, and again a kind of giving a punishment. But this time I think that is Pahalgam 25, it was wide and deep where we hit the heartland. This was the first time we hit the heartland. And of course, our target was the nursery and the masters. And like I told you, and this has never been done, and even Pakistan was not expecting that the heartland will be hit. And that's what came as a shocker to them. But were we prepared for it? Yes, we were prepared for it to absorb the blowback which will come up. So finally we chose 5 targets in Jammu and Kashmir and 4 targets in Punjab, and out of which 2 were with the Air Force, because the kind of ammunition which was required was much more. And at such a long range, if you have to send it, then the options are either with the Army, Navy, Air Force, long range weapons, or with the Air Force. So we decided to go with the Air Force, and it helped us because thereafter all the kind of, if I can say that the rebounds which were taking place or the blowbacks which were taking place. But what is important, it was a new normal. It was a new normal where our forces were always prepared for a conventional operations. So though we were trying last 1 year that what is Greyzone and what is multi-domain operations, but people were still not ready for it. But this is the time that our ground forces were actually playing chess. How many were going forward? How many were staying back? How many were moving somewhere else? So this kind of a chess move was there. So in this chessboard of 64, something was visible, something was not visible. And something which was not visible, maybe other countries may be helping out to kind of make them visible for the adversary. So the force, if you have to kind of look at force orchestration for a military man, it comes in 3 forms. And all these 3 forms you will play a role. Firstly is the force visualization. How he is going to employ his force, how am I going to employ his force, how it will be 2nd day, 3rd day, 4th day, 10th day, 15th day, because you don't know. Because this test match stopped in 4th days. And it could have continued for 14 days also, 140 days also, 1400 days also, we don't know. So we have to be prepared for those kind of things. Second is force preservation. Force preservation is important because you have to live to fight another day. And you have to kill the other person. That's what is your job. Not to lay down your life unnecessarily. It is to make sure the other person lays down his life and he feels happy about it. And you feel happy by facilitating that. So if that be the case, so force preservation becomes important, and it has a major role. When we talk about the various drillings which are required to be done in the mountains, and so many bunkers of different kind which are required to be made, and if I can say the preemptive actions which are required to be taken, and the third one is application, force application. So these are the 3 domains which we look at as a military man, and this is what something, I will just give the amalgam of some issues that how we went about and where your role comes in. So I will just talk about the technology and Operation Sindoor. So firstly, let me assure you, it was a whole of nation approach and the collaboration was there. Was it in conjunction with other nations or not? That's a moot point, but it should be. It should be in long run. As far as deep data mining, that became a criticality that if you had the deep data with you, it would have helped you more. So for last 1.5, 2 years, since our deputy chief is the one who is looking at data, big data analysis, integration and everything, we have started it in a big way. And if you have the data, then only you can go for the predictive analysis and all that. So this is something which is a big lesson we realize, and data is something now we are working out, and we are also looking at what headings, so that later on it doesn't happen that the data becomes so haphazard that we don't know how to handle it. Initially, when we were trying to digitize, we were just taking all the notes, files, and kind of just scanning. That was not digitization. Digitization is reading it, scanning it, and be able to get this kind of a job, which requires a major, if I can say that, processing capability. And this processing capability was not available with us. But again, courtesy the initiative of the deputy chief, we walked up to MIT and they gave us, and that is the kind of a GPUs. So this is something which immediately helped Indian Army to go in for, if I can say that, data handling of a big quantum. So first one which I will talk about the intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, because we realize that the common operational int picture is something which is important, or integrated picture which is important. We have for the Army, we have for the Navy, we have for the Air Force. But getting it together so that all the, if I can say, the layers can sit on one and then we can take the decision. That is something which we have not been doing. By the way, this is the first time that India has one operational name, common name as Operation Sindoor. Earlier, we used to have, for example, if it's Kargil, so you'll have Op Vijay for Army, Safed Sagar for Air Force, and so on and so forth. So even if we were kind of having some problems, inside the room there was no cameras. We could sort it out and come back as a fresh man when we come outside. But what is important is the differences must be discussed and it must be overcome. And that's what we could achieve. So as far the ISR is concerned, we realized that whatever authorization you give, I have told you that I'm looking at Eagle on the arm to begin with. So whatever the small drone which has been shown to me today, I had discussed this dream last year when I had come here. And of course, thereafter, I realized that in the headquarters, things are moving very slow. So I created those organizations which are now kind of, to fill their quench for thirst, they have to buy all these things. So we have created the Rudra, Divyastra, Shaktiban, and of course Bhairav. What all this is already in the internet, you can look into it. So tethered drone, something which came as a kind of a big surprise to us. Because the jamming was so high in this Operation Sindoor that they could not cross, some they could cross, we could not cross, we could cross some. So the jamming was something which became a kind of a thing for the surveillance. So tethered drones is something which provides us that kind of a thing, because even if he wants to target, how many will he target? So the number is more, then it becomes easier, and there is no, if I can say, that the gap which is there. And that's why tethered drone became the talk of the town. And as far as the satellites are concerned, yes, satellites we realize that we need much more, but pseudo-satellite came up in a big way. Pseudo-satellites are the one which basically they, perhaps what we say, they come to a particular level and remain for the desired period what you want. And they cover the area what you desire to be covered. So that is something which we are also working out. The other side is also buying it. And this is some field. But what is important is not only the flying object. It is the electro-optical equipment which is there and the communication from that to the ground. This is something which comes into play. And this is also need to be seen. And of course, as far as the endurance of that satellite is concerned, important. So this time also what happened, some good Samaritans, no names, nothing, came up. Because India exists all over the world and our diaspora is all over the world. And of course, if I can say that, picking up data from the social media and mobiles. There is another thing called as light situation. That, okay, where was the light on today? Where was the concentration of light was more, here or there? Now to get this kind of information, kind of process it, and come out with the inference, okay, this is what artificial intelligence, that this is what it could be. This is what something is required. And you will find all these fields, you will play a very, very important role. Of course, we have lot many agencies, NTRO, ISRO, INT agencies, etc. And we realize that our platform, which are common, need to be much more empowered. So we are working towards that. And of course, we also need to strike a balance between the federated and centralized info flow. Because if you have centralized info flow in the cloud, then what happens? You will find that if that gets impacted, the only one, the reserve alternate which you have, that's all. But if you have a federated, then you'll find the local, at least region, will not get impacted. Because that will have its own as well as having with the central server. So this is the kind of a thing which we are looking at. And that is where you'll find that all the three services have something called as centralization and decentralization. And a mix of that is something which is the orchestration of operations. The second one is narrative management system. So narrative management system is something which we realize in a big way, because victory is in mind. It's always in mind. If you ask to a Pakistani whether you lost or won, you say, my chief has become field marshal, we must have won only, that's why he's become field marshal. So what I'm saying, that this is how you can influence the population. So it is the domestic population, it is the adversaries population, and it is the neutral population. Can rising powers be accommodated? That's a question you have to ask. And you will get the answer yourself. So then we made inroads through our own way. And the narrative management system, by getting the social kind of a sensitive index, then getting to use the Twitters and other handles from other places. So the strategic messaging which was there was very, very important. And that's why the first messaging we did, that okay, justice done, Operation Sindoor. That hit the maximum, I am told, in the world today, the number of hits which received. So that was the strategic messaging by a simple message. And the logo which you see all over the world was created by a lieutenant colonel and a NCO. So we prepared all this. So when we were going in for this kind of Sindoor operations, we were also going for these things because narrative management system is important. So what it means that when it comes to the technology, there is a technology here, there is a technology here. The big party would like to propagate a technology to be much, much better, and you will get influenced by it. And the smaller one will not have the money power to kind of propagate that. So that is where I think the narrative management system plays a role. And if we are able to kind of get in time, I assure you that we will be able to help out this kind of a smaller party also. As we dug through the OSINT, we could also declare the fake. And that's why with the IIT Guwahati also we have signed and for IIT Delhi also we have signed the MOUs on interacting or getting information from the OSINT. And this fake stamping was something which was giving a great credibility. Now when we talk about the predictive analysis, I told you about the big leaders. But I think with this kind of a thing, we do not have time now because even the corps commanders will change, even the naval commanders will change on the other side. So we need to put in all this data and we should be able to see, okay, what is the thought process? What is he likely to do? No, predictive analysis is required. And that is where we all play a role in it. As so the communication is concerned, of course, secure battlefield networks, it helped us in a big way. Cyber defense measures. This is something, whatever you do, you will find you are still short of effort. And you know that what kind of attacks which were carried out, and we could ward off, we could recoup back wherever is required, we could rebound back. But next time, it may be much more. And whether that country will do it alone, it will be supported by some other countries, we do not know. But I have a strong hunch feeling that that country will not be alone. And that is where we have to be careful. Here I would like to talk about Sambhav. Because Sambhav is courtesy IIT Madras. And this was a big game changer. Why? Otherwise, we used to be on the WhatsApp if we have to talk anything. Secret we cannot talk, so we are talking on the mobiles. But this Sambhav gave us a big uplift. Same thing, this war starting from 22nd April, we formed various groups as you are aware. But here there was a kind of a drawing board where everybody was knowing what is happening. So my Southern Army commander sitting at Pune, who is controlling the Rajasthan, doesn't have to tell J&K what is he doing. It is known through that. But what we learned, that we allowed too many people to use Sambhav. And we gave too many permissions. So now, at the time of crisis, if there are 100 messages, how will you kind of sift that which is the operationally important? That's why the hierarchy became important. But the workload is something which was, let's say, X. It became 100X. When it became 100X, Murphy's law, the server also went down at that point of time. We had to change the server. So then we realized that the hierarchy of communication becomes very important. So centralization is important, but decentralization is also important. And that is where once we make sure that the hierarchy was kind of reverted back, it became easy. But still, the load on Sambhav was very high. And I'm happy to note that Sambhav 2.0 is also being looked at because that will kind of help us for Sindoor 2.0. So I'm sure before Sindoor 2.0 starts, Sambhav 2.0 will be actually commercialized. Coming on to electronic warfare, of course, you're masters of it, so I don't have to talk about it. EM spectrum dominance. Jamming, I told you, it was in a big way. But deception, we could do a lot with the electronic warfare. And beyond that, I would not like to speak, but as you know, that his headquarters, etc., depicted from that. And of course, radar fingerprinting. Again, deep data. Because all the radars open at various places. And if you have the data, then you know, okay, which radar is opening up and it is held with which formation. That tells you the orbiting which is important. So fingerprinting which becomes important. And therefore, the long-term involvement here becomes important. And ECAS or something, I think it's already in the media also, that we have created a software which is helping us. Of course, that is something which we have just started. But I am sure with the AI kind of caliber which is there with the IIT Madras, that will become very, very strong. And it will get interlinked with the TRICE services because we need to work out together. As far as target engagement is concerned, we realize that attrition warfare is no more going to give you the results. So you need smart munition. All the dumb bombs have to be converted to smart bombs. We are working out with others also in this field because here we do not have much time. And Russia also, finally you realize only two things are working. Rest everything has gone back. Today I was reading the air assets have been pushed back. And the platform which are there, they only use when required. But the artillery guns and the drones, they are the only two things. The only thing what they have done, their dumb bombs have been converted to smart bombs. So the precision has increase. When the precision is increased, how does it help Indian economy? If you use a X number for, let's say, dumb bomb, you will use only 1/5 of the ammunition if it's precision in nature. And that is where you will find that the cost does not make a difference. The impact which will help us, because it will be timely impact and allow us to further the battle which is required. Rockets, extended range, we are well aware that what we are working here. And we also carried out a trial yesterday where we got the circular reparability of 2 meters for the 70-kilometer Pinaka. And of course, ramjet technology, again, we are having a very, very high hopes. And we are, I'll not say running out of patience, but we are impatient that earlier as it comes, better it is. And of course, if I can say that private industry also tested some missiles, which was again in the newspaper, 150 to 400 kilometers. So we're moving fast and we have to move much faster. Swarm drones and mother and the, if I can say that the sub drones or children drones which are there, there's a new concept. And today there is in the newspaper, in the Twitter also, and in India also, one company has offered 30 kilometers of a spool. And in Ukraine, they have used 40 kilometers for spool. So there is no interference or jamming which can take place unless you physically destroy it. So this is the kind of a thing which is being looked at. So what happens? You send a spool for 30 kilometers. By the time the two layers of jammers have been kind of a pass through, thereafter the mothership goes another 20-30 kilometers, opens up with the kind of a sub-drones. And then you can create the havoc which is required. So 50 to 60 kilometer depth we can achieve. That is the kind of a range what we are looking at with this. And of course, armed UAVs, I don't have to talk about it. And employment of baits from both sides. So this time what they did, they sent the small drones first. So that you use your anti-aircraft guns. You open your radars. So your anti-aircraft gun locations are known. Your radar locations are known. Then say frequency is known, so they know which kind of a radar and everything. And then they came with the kind of armed small UAVs or drones, Yiha class, which is from Turkey. So they used that. And thereafter, of course, they came with the Chinese and Turkish big UAVs, which is called as combat UAVs, they came. So just because I think we were well prepared, we had the kind of ammunition, we had the kind of coordination, we had the kind of missiles, and we had the kind of counter US equipment, which is the soft kill. All this combined together helped us in a big way. But will this help us the next war? No. Why? Because drone and counter drone is a ratcheting effect. If you have better technology for drone, counter drone technology will grow up. Thereafter, you have to drone better and then counter drone. So both have to keep kind of overcoming each other deficiency or strength. So therefore, this is a constant battle which is going on, and for this we cannot sit idle. And that is where we need to work together. As for the counter US equipment is concerned, in the area of 800 kilometers, we had 4,500 flying objects, including the Air Force. Now, if that be the kind of 4,500 flying objects which you have, how can you manage that space? That is something which is important. So when you use the jammer, it's very difficult to tell which drone is getting jammed, because it has the record, it's kind of a record of the frequency and other things. So that's on the lighter side, but that also can be a lesson drawn. But what is important is that we need new kind of patterns to look into it. And artificial intelligence plays a very important role, and networking again plays a very important role in this. Of course, hard kill, soft kill, we are aware. Fusion of that information, that which target to be engaged by whom. And of course, target tracking and tasking is something important. Moving ahead is the space integration. Navik, it will take some time, but I'm sure by 2026 December we should be able to get it. But as far as the space is concerned, satellite, we used it in a big way. Images, satellite images. But actually the requirement is much, much higher. The satellites availability is much, much lower. Every side, even if you look at the America also, they will also find it difficult when you go for an intense war. This time the intense war was not there. Was it a conventional war? There are not many questions. It was a conflict with an enhanced volume. So if that be the case, then we need images not only from the satellites. What are the alternate means? That is something. And if not, then can we get the change detection very fast? Is it going to help us? Communication PNT and anti-satellite which is there, that is something which you need to look into. So we are looking at low cost, low orbit, and also launch on demand. These are the two kind of satellites which we are looking at in the near future. As for the war sustenance is concerned, logistic management system. Now we have a logistic management system. The Navy has it, Air Force has it. Firstly, we need to combine that together, and then also combine it with the national logistics system. Because after all, we will find that it is not only the uniform people who can fit in the requirement, because when you have to feed in this 12 lakh population, whatever you do, if it's a long duration war, we have a limitation of how much we will keep with ourselves. So that's only one of the side. Deception and decoys, again IIT Madras is doing a great job in that. Biotech and human enhancement. This is something exoskeleton. We are working out with some IITs, and I'm looking that in a big way. And this is a big game changer. When you pick up something which is, let's say, about 20 kg, you feel like only 10 kg when you pick up with the exoskeleton. So that's why we are looking at it in a big way. And a lot of progress is being made, but I think it's still not enough. And also stress analysis sensor. This is something which is important, because we need to have these sensors now, so that everybody wears this and we get to know how much is the stress, and depending on that we can send the people ahead, back, or a kind of a stress buster. We also have a go, no-go tablets, so you're aware, in high altitude we've already prescribed for various places. The Air Force already has it. We've also, for accelerated acclimatization, we are looking at it. We have used some medicine which we are saying under the special conditions we can make this 6-day acclimatization to 4 days. But I'm very hopeful with Dr. Kamakoti now having this kind of a situation, that you are having the lay-based institute. We'll be very happy to join this kind of a study on this. And what is important is that we need this technical study, because medical study requires 7 years, and I may not have 7 years to go. So when I'm saying 7 years for this war to kind of a start. As far as AI is concerned, I think overall I have already talked about it, because it predicts the threat with the TSR, that is the time, space and resources. And that is where the AI plays a very important role. So whatever points I have given, if you combine this together, we'll get the TSR. We know that enemy has the capability, but when he's going to use it, where is he going to use it, and what resources he's going to apply. And that's what something we need to look into. And of course, the distance support tools, as you're aware, that now we have rejuvenated our battlefield surveillance support system, and also CIDSS, which we are working with Bell, and of course, Sama, which we are working out. So if I have to say so, that for the Viksit Bharat 2047, your and our convergence is very, very high, because as far as the strength for the future lies with the industry, academia and military triangulation. And of course, we also have to make sure that the bureaucracy, financial people and the government research agencies also be taken on board. As far as the Indian Army is concerned, we have created the technology committee, which is Empower Technology Committee, which has got 16 technology clusters, and these clusters all over the media we have already given out, and we've also given out which is the principal staff officer to be connected to and which is the director general to be connected to. Because whatever you have, you don't have to come through me or the deputy chief ISNC or with the ADG, ADB. You can just go to them directly. Those DGs are meant to do this, whether it's robotics or it is with the quantum technology, blockchain, you name a thing, and we have the people named for it. We've also created a cell at IIT Delhi, Kanpur, ISC Bangalore, and of course, Agnishodh is a very good beginning, and we are very hopeful from this. As far as MCT is concerned, of course, we have India AI mission, Chip to Startup mission, and of course, Project Kila, that is the quantum computing, that is what we have. So what we are looking at two ways from you is basically the disruptive technology, which should make our job easy, and that offset strategy. Offset strategy, once we sit with you, you tell us your prowess, we will come out with the offset strategy. So these are two things we are looking at mainly. Of course, water jet cutting, which has been explained to us, we are looking at keenly. We're also looking at a smart IoT kit for health monitor. And Ladakh IIT extension is a big thing, because our northern front is completely will be dependent on this research center. And Army internship program, which we have started recently, and I'll be urging all of you to join that Army internship program. And all those who feel they are already graduated, you can also join us as an officers, because we have now all the technical fields open, and we'll be soon from 2025 end, we'll be giving out the advertisements for that. So what are we expecting from you? If I could just summarize it: advanced composite materials, metallurgy, microelectronics, precision guidance, gyro, sighting system, seekers, cyber security and military-grade secure communication technology, AI and ML, of course, quantum computing, robotics, unmanned sensors and systems, synthetic biology, and Ladakh Center is going to play an important role. And I must also thank IIT Madras for jointly organizing at national level cyber competition in October 25, that is Datathon and Capture the Flag. So, in summation, I have to say that Operation Sindoor, a new normal, is just the beginning. It's the age of acceleration, the transformation we are living in. And if that be the case, then journey to be traveled together for upholding peace, even if enforced through strength, synergy, and sovereignty, is the call of the day. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
In your address, you spoke about something, citizen soldiers. My question regarding is another part of the civilian aspect is, during Operation Sindoor, we all saw that the regions, they were facing a lot of heavy fire from the side of the enemy. In such situations, can you shed some light upon the role of the army to ensure that civilians don't panic and behave responsibly, which is, I think, very important during such operations?
Okay, so it's a very pertinent question, and that's why if you see that anywhere in the world today, other than maybe Iran, Iraq, where they went on for 10 years, other places if you find that they all look at the exit strategy, that how early can they stop the war. As far as Russia, Ukraine is concerned, that's gone out of control, and that is something which, but when you go to Moscow, you don't realize that the war is on. That is the kind of a situation. They have been able to kind of isolate that war zone. So what you've asked is basically what the role of army is as far as the protection of civilians is concerned. If you carry out the analysis, you will find that what will be the density of the population which is on the western side and what is the density on the eastern side. In my wisdom, I think whatever population we have on our borders, along our borders, let's say 30-40 kilometers, it is 3 times on the other side. So it has to be very clear that if you look at civil target, the other side will be a very, very big loser. So that itself becomes a kind of, if I can say that, a deterrence for them to take care. That is point number 1. Point number 2 is we talked about force visualization, protection, and that is preservation and then application. So when we look at force visualization means what? That we have to visualize that what is the kind of a force application the other side is going to do. Based on that, the actions are taken on ground. You saw that the civil defense exercises took place. The NCC boys went around and spoke to everyone. There were community centers which were identified. People were talked about if the shelling takes place, how the blackening of the complete area has to be carried out. Those rehearsals were carried out. In 2019, we went in for, along the LC, the major drive for constructing the community bunkers. Because the line of control, as you see, the firing is on in a big way. So what it means, the population which has been impacted over a period of time is conscious of it. And if they're conscious of it, they're taking all these actions. At some place who were in depth, they said, okay, it will never come to us. But when we found that the drones which are coming inside, and of course we shot them down, then we found that other players also, who were not looking at bunkers and they said our houses are safe enough, also started looking for the bunker construction material. So what we are looking at now, that awareness, what actions to be taken, that in conjunction with the NCC, in conjunction with civil defense organization, in conjunction with the civil administration, and also look at more such kind of a, if I can say that, infrastructure coming up all along the border. This is what we are looking at. And if anything falls of enemy, any ammunition, it will fall on us first, then only it will go to the civilians. Thank you.
My question was regarding the use of technology in Operation Sindoor. So could you elaborate on the use of technology, specifically drones and related devices during Operation Sindoor? Also, do you see non-kinetic warfare playing a key role in going ahead with what we'll do next?
So as far as the drones are concerned, let me tell you that since I was commanding Northern Command for 2 years, and there the drones is something which is the daily requirement because of the half front which I talked about, that is the counter-terrorism operations which we carry out. But we realized that the drones which we bought over a period of time, the acquisition process is so long drawn that whatever we wanted about 5 years back came today. But the requirement was something which must be manufactured today. It should be state of the art and it should come. So what we did, as far as we are concerned, we used those drones. We modified lot many drones. There is a book which is called as Jugaad, and you all must read it, because Indians are very good at it. So what I am saying that our special forces and some organization which are with the DRDO And our interagency sat together and modified the drones as per the requirement. And these drones, we used it effectively for the destroying these targets which are there. And if I can say that, to the extent that industry came forward in a big way. No names, but the industry came forward. Whatever they had, they told us, this is what is available with us today. Please take it and use it the way you want. We said, money, forget about it. So this is what is the patriotism and nationalism all about when we talk about that whatever was there with the country, everything came forward and we used it effectively. But was it enough? No. It was only 1/10 of our aspiration. And that is why a huge chunk of now emergency powers have been given to us. And from that emergency powers, which we are buying in a big way, the lot ammunition, the drone equipment, and counter-drone equipment. This is what we are looking at.